Got a lot of news to talk about today, so let's just jump into it. Starting with, I just want to go on the record to say, I didn't lose, you guys cheated. Right, that is roughly what Drake just alleged in a new court filing accusing Universal Music Group and Spotify of scheming to artificially inflate streams of Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. Which when I first saw this news, I was like, that was your problem with the song, Drake? Did you listen to the lyrics of what he said about you? But there is an update on that front that we'll get to. Because yesterday, when this petition was filed in New York, it said UMG did not rely on chance or even ordinary business practices to break through the noise on Spotify and likely other music platforms, saying instead it launched a campaign to manipulate and saturate the streaming services and airwaves with a song Not Like Us in order to make that song go viral, and specifically accusing UMG of charging Spotify lower licensing rates for the song in exchange for the platform recommending it to users who were searching for unrelated tracks and artists. Also claiming that UMG conspired with and paid unknown parties to use bots to artificially up the spread of Not Like Us and make it appear more popular than it really was. And then on top of all of that, Drake's lawyers also claim that they have received information that UMG has been taking steps in an apparent effort to conceal its schemes, including, but not limited to, by terminating employees associated with or perceived as having loyalty to Drake. Right, and with this news, it's not surprising that something's happening. Obviously, Drake was not going to be a fan of that song. Right? It's got to be a very weird, unique thing to be in a beef with someone. They sing song that you're a certified pedophile, and they get rewarded with a #1 spot on the Billboard charts and get nominated for Song of the Year at the Grammys. Right, but now what we're seeing is Drake's team saying that the success is the result of a big conspiracy, and accusing UMG of violating the RICO statute that's often used in organized crime cases. Though with that, you have outlets saying that this specific legal action, it is a bit surprising because both Drake and Kendrick's music is distributed under the Universal Music Group umbrella. But there, as outlets like Billboard explained, Drake says that some executives still had motive because of the, quote, internal corporate dynamics in UMG and Interscope, which reward incentives based on how specific divisions do instead of the overall performance of UMG. The outlet also explaining that this filing isn't a lawsuit. Rather, it's a so-called pre-action petition, a procedure under New York law that aims to secure information before filing a lawsuit, though that doesn't technically guarantee that the parties named in these filings will be eventually hit with a lawsuit. And so far, what we're seeing is that UMG is denying the claims here, saying the suggestion that UMG would do anything to undermine any of its artists is offensive and untrue. We employ the highest ethical practices in our marketing and promotional campaigns. No amount of contrived and absurd legal arguments in this pre-action submission can mask the fact that fans choose the music they want to hear. Or in other words, saying, it's not our fault that the general public really liked a song that just read you to filth and attacked absolutely every element of your being. But there, Drake's still fighting them, claiming that he has tried to engage UMG in discussions to resolve the ongoing harm he has suffered. Drake saying they've refused to engage and instead pointed fingers at Kendrick and suggested he take Kendrick to court. All of that leading to the update this morning where Drake took things even further, filing another action against UMG, accusing the label of defamation, saying UMG knew that Kendrick's song falsely labeled him as a sex offender, but they let him release it anyways. And adding, UMG could have refused to release or distribute the song or required the offending material to be edited and or removed. UMG designed, financed, and then executed a plan to turn Not Like Us into a viral mega hit with the intent of using the spectacle of harm to Drake and his businesses to drive consumer hysteria and, of course, massive revenues. Now with that, as of recording, UMG has not yet responded to that specific claim, but like the first, as of right now, it is not part of a lawsuit. But anyways, I just want to say really quick, shout out to Drake. I forgot that Not Like Us was such a fucking banger. I'm just gonna have that on loop for my run this afternoon. And then, I want you to imagine something. An army of weaponized grannies. That is what is being unleashed on the scammer world right now. And so with that, I want you to meet Daisy. She's an AI-generated grandma created by a British phone company named Virgin Media O2 in order to fight scammers. And the way she fights scammers is by yapping. Right? She just chats with the scammers, telling them all about her grandchildren and her cat and the birds outside of her window. Also her knitting hobby, her biscuit preferences. And all of this is, she's just not great with computers. So could you explain what you need her to type again? And that's not even a joke. She reportedly spent nearly an hour on the phone with 3 scammers who were just trying to get her to type www. into a web browser, right? And so that's it. Daisy is designed to seem like the perfect target for scammers with her chatty nature and ignorance about technology. But unlike real life grannies, she don't need a nap. She will just talk and talk and talk, and she won't die. She'll just keep talking.
Well, I do have a computer, but I'm not currently at it. Yeah. I was actually just about to sit down with a nice cuppa and some biscuits. Do you like biscuits, Peter? Oh dear. I'm 78 years young. Back in my day, we didn't have all this technology. Everything was much simpler. What about you, dear?
Right, and obviously, while this is a beautiful middle finger to scammers, O2's idea here is also that every minute scammers are talking to Daisy, it's a minute they're not scamming a real person. Now, obviously, this isn't a completely unique idea. There are plenty of real people who bait scammers using the same tactic, which is also some of my favorite content on the internet. And Daisy manages to get some pretty intense reactions from these scammers.
It's nearly been an hour! For the love of
gosh, how time flies.
Stop calling me dear, you stupid.
Got it, dear.
But again, Daisy doesn't need to stop, though. Daisy is fun, but isn't an end-all solution. Her scam calls are just on a completely wild scale. Last year, there were tens of millions of them around the world every single day. And of course that's the scale, because there's so much money in this. Right? One anti-scam consortium reported that victims were scammed out of over $1 trillion worldwide. And then, if you are clinically obese, listen up. Because the big news that we're seeing right now is that Biden officials are ready to cover the cost of Ozempic for you, but the Trump camp might squash it before it can even happen. Right? And that because the Biden administration just proposed expanding Medicare and Medicaid coverage for weight loss medications like Ozempic. I mean, we're talking about coverage being expanded to 7.5 million people enrolled in Medicare and Medicaid, which would be a substantial change considering that the current rules make it so that Medicare doesn't cover weight loss drugs. Though, asterisk, a lot of Medicare beneficiaries do get Ozempic or Wegovy to treat heart disease and diabetes, which are conditions made worse by obesity. Now, as far as why the Biden administration has decided to make this change, officials say that it's thanks to a recognition that obesity is, quote, a chronic disease based on changes in medical consensus. There's also some concern regarding the timing here. They're seeing health.
I'll wash my hands. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I had to wash my hands. I'm going to change the light in here. Okay.
Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra explaining the super late term announcement by saying that Biden officials needed to come to a scientific agreement, right? And that it had nothing to do with the election. But here's the thing. Timing. While Biden officials say that this new proposal would boost public health, putting pressure on the incoming Trump administration to finalize it in the days after he takes office, that may be a long shot, especially considering Trump's pick for the new HHS secretary is RFK Jr. Because RFK Jr. has openly spoken out against weight loss drugs, even blaming them for hiding the root problem of poor health in America. Now with that, in response to the concern about RFK Jr. shutting this proposal down, Becerra said that he would urge him to look at the data showing the benefits of weight loss drugs, even making a comparison to vaccines, which, considering who he's talking to here, probably not the best strategy. But that said, there is a chance that not everyone in the upcoming administration will be against this. In fact, Dr. Oz, Trump's pick to head up the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, has repeatedly hyped up weight loss drugs, with him even naming Ozempic in an Instagram post last year, saying, "We need to make it as easy as possible for people to meet their health goals, period." And all of this, as notably, these proposed rules will only reportedly apply to beneficiaries that are obese. It's a Karen and Jacob just trying to lose that last 15 pounds. It's not about them. Under this proposal, even those who fall into the overweight category are not eligible unless they have another condition. But considering that roughly 40% of Americans were obese between 2021 and 2023, according to a recent CDC report, we're talking about a change that could make a serious difference in the lives of millions. So of course, with this proposal, there is a price tag attached to it, with this proposal reportedly costing taxpayers as much as $35 billion over the next decade, which, considering the promises that Team Trump have made to cut government spending, I mean, that could be enough for them to shut this down. But the counter argument to that is that obesity is expensive. Right? You have the CDC, for example, saying that annual obesity-related medical care costs in the US in 2019 dollars were estimated to be nearly $173 billion. And this is, you have places like the Milken Institute, which is a nonprofit in Santa Monica, California, saying it goes beyond just direct costs, claiming that American businesses lose $1.1 trillion each year due to obesity. But, for now, we'll have to wait to see what happens post-January 20th. But then, taking a quick break from the news, I think we can all agree that too much of anything isn't always a good thing. Like sitting and being sedentary 4 hours, that is not productive or good for your body. And that's why I'm so excited to share today's sponsor, Uplift Desk, the desk that I use every day. My Uplift Desk is a game changer, and being able to change up standing and sitting while I work, it boosts my creativity and productivity. I'm more focused, more alert, and have way more energy throughout the day. And the ability to move while working, it promotes better circulation and reduces strain, keeping my body healthier in the long run. And Uplift Desks have rock solid stability and build quality. It's stable, built to last, and made with eco-friendly materials. And the customization options, with over 200,000 configurations, you can create your dream workspace, whether it's sleek storage, wire management, or ergonomic seating. And their desk configurator, it made it easy for me to build out a setup tailored to my needs. And they really do a great job at making your workspace not only fit your style, but also inspire creativity and productivity. So if you're ready to upgrade your workspace, visit upliftdesk.com/Phil and use code Phil to unlock Uplift's holiday sales, including free same-day shipping, free returns, and an industry-leading 15-year warranty. That's upliftdesk.com/Phil for a special offer only available when using code Phil. Live healthier with Uplift Desk. But then, we need to talk about Donald Trump's tariffs, because he is doubling down on them, with him now saying that he is going to impose tariffs on products coming into the US from Mexico, Canada, and China on his first day in office. With him in one of his social media posts claiming that thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada, bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before, and then specifically saying he'd issue a day one executive order to levy a 25% tariff on all goods from Canada and Mexico. And finally, adding this tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. And then in a separate post saying that China will be charged an additional 10% on top of any existing tariffs on all of their many products coming into the United States of America. And again, saying that tariffs will stay in place until something is done about drugs coming into the US. Now with that, one of the first things I'll touch on is that at best, a number of the things in these posts are misleading. Or like, for example, unauthorized border crossings in general have been falling since before the election, and they're continuing to do so. Though it is true that crossings at the northern border have been increasing. And while obviously we do not want people that should not be here bringing crime and drugs into the country, what he's saying is at best hyperbole, right? There's no evidence right now to suggest that migrants are bringing crime and drugs at levels never seen before. In fact, multiple studies, including one recently from the National Institutes of Justice, have found that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than citizens. And then regarding the drugs, fentanyl seizures have actually dramatically increased under Biden compared to Trump. And so now with that, the country's actually seeing significantly less fentanyl in circulation and fewer overdoses. So obviously we want to see those numbers getting less and less and fewer, but also either way, most fentanyl is reportedly smuggled through official border crossings by Americans. In fact, more than 80% of the people sentenced for fentanyl trafficking at the southern border are U.S. citizens. So again, in no way am I saying there is not a huge issue. Right? It is absolutely true that Mexican cartels and Chinese gangs linked to the CCP are playing a huge role. And it's definitely not like we can't talk about whether other countries can do more. But also, to do that properly, we have to be clear about what the facts are. And so with that, let's get back to these tariffs. Because it is not true with Trump's tariffs that Mexico, Canada, and China are going to be the ones paying for them. Right? As much as Donald Trump has insisted that foreign companies pay tariffs, they're actually paid by the company that imports the product.
Yeah, I was going to make a point here before he ruins it. Trump is stupid to think the tariffs fix the problem about stuff like Mexican and Canadian immigrants and them selling fentanyl and ruining the country or whatever. Tariffing the businessmen of Mexico and Canada, those are the good, God-fearing, whatever you want to call, whatever right-winger fucking thing about good people you want to say, whatever idiosyncrasy, whatever cliche you want to say about them. But these people that Trump's tariffing, they're the good, God-fearing, family-loving businessmen who want to bring goods to this country and sell or be sold. And they're not the people to tariff because you don't like immigrants. They're the people who are still helping this country survive. They're the businessmen from other countries that come here, that don't live here, that don't have anything to do with our border crisis or anything to do with that. They're the businessmen. Tariffs have to do with businessmen. They don't have to do with immigrants. Trump is so goddamn stupid, he's melded the two issues. Like, he thinks that solving one is going to solve the other. But no, tariffing businessmen, that just hurts them and it hurts us. That's it. What does that have to do with immigration? Or poor drug dealers, or bad actor drug dealers, or whatever. Like, what do tariffs to Canadian and Mexican businessmen and governmental interests have to do with the dealers selling dope on the streets of America? This connection that he made is a really bad one. It's stupid. It's not a connection that can be made. Not really. And so, like, you want to, so think about it like this. Like, there's these conglomerates and these businesses who want to bring products here and sell them cheaply, and they come over here and we tariff them and we say, you've got to pay a 60% extra fucking dividend on the entire boat worth of goods that you brought here. And the businessman's like, why? Because somebody who has the same color as skin as mine sells fentanyl in your ghettos? Is that why? Well, then the businessman looks at the tax man and he's like, tariff 60%? And this is a Chinese businessman or a Canadian businessman or a Mexican businessman or a Russian businessman. And he's looking at you and he's like, I have dealt with you guys for 100 years and I've always had really good dealings with you. Have I not always given you good prices and really sold good products to you and all this? And the American businessman and Trump go, yeah, yes, you have. And so the businessman is, well, what's your quarrel? And Trump goes, well, your cousins are selling dope on the streets of America. And the businessman's like, what does that have to do with me? And a smart man's like, oh, wait, I guess you're right. I don't think that does have anything to do with you. You're the good side of the country that works and sells products and is the businessman that keep the country running, both Mexico, Canada, and America. What the fuck do they have to do with illegal fucking immigrants is selling fentanyl in the ghetto? What does that have to do with them? It has nothing to do with them. The connection can't be made. It's a shitty one that has no logic to it. It's not like I want to fight Trump over it. I'm saying the goddamn logic isn't there. It's not there. Bad actors in the inner cities of America have nothing to do with foreign businessmen and tariffs. Nothing to do. They're completely fucking separate issues that have nothing to do with each other, and solving one isn't going to solve the other. It's just going to cost us money. That's it. That's all it's going to do. Tariffs do nothing but cost us money. If they're scared to trade with us, then it costs us a lot of money in the long run. We have to pay higher prices. All it does is cost us money. Tariffs are not good for business. They're not good. You do it when you want something politically from something. But I'm sorry. Is Trump's assumption here that the Mexican government sent all these people here? Or like that, that's just not the case. The government, the Mexican government does not it's not the emperor of Mexican people. They don't tell Mexican people what the fuck to do. Mexican business interests and Canadian business interests and Chinese business interests have zero the fuck all to do with what's happening in inner cities of America with fentanyl. Zero the fuck all to do. These are the people who don't do that stuff to us, honestly. They're the businessmen who show up here with a boat full of goods, or vice versa. They show up here and they want to buy something from us. And they're like, yeah, I got a lot of money and I got a boat and stuff, and I'm here to do business with you and stuff. They're the good people. I don't understand this melding of lines. It's just racist. It's because, like, some Mexicans hop the border. You think all Mexican businessmen should be tariffed and all Mexican government interests should be tariffed? I'm sorry, but I'm going to draw an American metaphor. That's like saying America shouldn't be able to do business with other people because we have some people who do drive-bys in the ghetto. So we just, so no foreign interests and no foreign businesses should ever do business with us because one of our people because we have drive-bys in South Central. So then, like, and that's that's like literally the message you're sending is because we have drive-bys in South Central, that you know that all of America should be charged a 60% tariff every time they do business with another country. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm trying to draw a metaphor that'll get it through an idiot American like Trump's brain, but I'm sorry, but like tariffs have nothing the fuck to do with fucking illegal immigration. They couldn't ever solve each other's problem either. Trust me, it's not like that. If you were to tariff the businessmen, all that's going to do is make it so that the more people are poor and more people come to our country. I'm sorry, but that's literally what fucking tariffs will do. It will only greatly like worsen the problem of immigration, because if we don't do business with them, they don't make any fucking money. If we charge tariffs for them when they want to do business with us, they can't thrive. If they can't thrive, we get more fucking starving, poor, hungry people, which we at one time in our lives said we said, give us you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. But apparently that's not the attitude anymore since the Republicans took over or whatever. It's just racist, kick them all out and stop any money flow between us and them. But I mean, what the fuck, those people that are doing business with us that you're tariffing, they're the good people in their country. Why you would alienate them is beyond me. You're a goddamn moron. A 5-year-old would know better. 5-year-old would go, Daddy, why did you stop trade with China? And charge us 60% extra every time that we do business with them, and Trump goes, well, to stop them from being China and China virus and such, and the 5-year-old goes, no, Daddy, the businessmen have nothing to do with bad actors, or whatever. The businessmen didn't have anything to do with immigration, Daddy. That's immigrants, Daddy. And Daddy Trump's like, oh, right. I guess immigrants are what's immigrant, right? It's not the businessmen that I'm tariffing. Those are businessmen. But I seem to be blaming the businessmen for illegal immigrants. But the businessmen are the people who just bring money to America and try to help us. I'm sorry. And tariffs don't help anybody. Unless you're trying to stop some kind of genocide or some kind of bomb drop or some kind of war. Tariffs are good to stop a war when you say, I won't do business with you again if you continually kill your cousin like this or something like this, right? You say, I won't do business with you anymore, and then you don't have business with America and you're fucking sunk, right? That's when tariffs are appropriate to stop wars. They're not really appropriate to fucking like to chide somebody because their cousin hopped the border, you know? I mean, I'm sorry, but it is their cousin. It's not them. The businessmen are not, the people that you're tariffing are not the people that hop the border. They might have the same color of skin, but they don't have the same principles, morals, or money. They're the good. They're the businessmen are the good elements of Mexico, Canada, and China. Those are the people that we respect. We call them white collar. We think of them as the good people that are trying to really, like, you know, just create commerce in the world. They have nothing to do with illegal immigrants, except probably short of sharing the same color of skin. They probably don't share the same zip code. They probably don't share the same income level bracket. They don't share the same political probably fucking like figureheads and stuff. And trust me, like trying to blame fucking Mexican businessmen and tariffing them and the Mexican government every time they try to do business with us will not stop fucking illegal immigrants from coming into America and selling fentanyl. That will not stop them because they're separate fucking entities. They're completely separate fucking entities. One is a bad actor that usually runs in a gang and runs in the black market and fucking sells dope and fentanyl and shit like this and hops the border. The other one is just a businessman who lives in Mexico, who takes a fancy plane up here or like rides on the boat with their goods or whatever and shows up and says like, oh yeah, here you go. I've got this like good deal on this and it's only like 70% of what you normally pay to these people overseas or whatever. So yeah, I've got this thing. And Trump goes, no, you've got to pay 60% more of whatever you sell me. And the businessman goes, well, yeah, but I'm already cutting you a really good deal. You just want 60% more? And Trump's like, yeah, because of the color of your skin, because your cousins hop the border and sell fentanyl in the ghettos. And the businessman's like, that's racist. That's fucked up. I'm never going to forget this. Fuck you. I'm going to tell my politicians what you said. And they go back to the drawing board and they find some other person to do business who's sane. And their money, their Mexican and Canadian and China and Russian business money goes to some other country who isn't us, which serves to only fucking hurt us. And like Trump, only serve to fucking hurt us. And this is things that a 5-year-old knows. You know, these are things that a 5-year-old knows. You don't blame Mexican businessmen who are trying to bring money and business opportunities to this country with export and import. You don't blame them for their cousins hopping the border. That's disgusting. Like, that's disgusting. That's like blaming, like, you know, that's like blaming all of America for when Matt Gaetz slept with a child or something. It's just disgusting. It doesn't fit. It doesn't really fit. Not all of us are sick. It's the same thing that Trump's doing to them. He's saying, oh, yeah, I gotta sanction all business and fucking fuck people with tariffs and raise every cost of business up 60% if you want to do business in America. Why? Because their cousins sometimes hop the border and sell fentanyl here? That's bullshit. They don't do that to us when we sell drugs in their country and shit. Like Nicaragua and stuff like this. They don't do this to us when we sell drugs in their country. I don't really understand it, man. Like, most of the people running drugs over the fucking border are white Americans, like what Phil DeFranco said. This weird concept that you're gonna solve fucking the border crisis by shutting down business with business tariffs to China. You think you're gonna stop China from being China by doing a business tariff? China does business with the entire fucking world. Why would we be the only one? It's like the kind of thing that the autistic angry child does. Alienate everybody. I spent my entire life trying not to be like this. Like, I do it when they attack me, but I don't do it otherwise. You know, I try not to alienate people almost ever because, you know, I try to play the leftist sort of bleeding heart liberal, never alienate anybody thing and love everybody equally. Because, like, trust me, these are not the same people. The people you're tariffing are not the people who are hopping the border. That's quite the opposite. That's like saying that, you know, Paris Hilton, you know, like seriously, this is like saying that Paris Hilton shouldn't be able to sell makeup or something because she's rich. It's sort of weird. It's like really weird. It's like saying because somebody hopped the border, then we don't want to do business with Mexico or their government. That's insane. That's like they're the only people left in that industry that's still good. The businessmen are the people who obey the laws generally, you know? They're not really known they're known for being crooked, but they're not really known for being like criminals though. Businessmen are not really known for being criminals, not really. Sometimes they do break the law and we hold them to task, but most businessmen are not fucking criminals. So why you would treat them like that is disgusting. It'll set us back in race relations with China, Mexico, and all these other places for fucking 500 years. And on top of it, already Europe has stepped and been like, let me make the decision for you. We will sanction you, and you will not do any European business with anybody in Europe. Europe stepped in. They were like, yeah, if you sanction China, we will full-blown sanction you, and we will be like if you do something so stupid as to prevent the Asians from doing their trade, like it's just stupid. It's sort of like preventing white people from trying to stockpile money or something. It's insane. It's not going to happen. So, like, you know, it's just not going to happen. Like, trying to block the Asians with their trade, that's not going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. Why are you trying? This disgusting. It's so foul and based and racist and disgusting. It's setting us back so completely. And your weird foreign fucking policies are disgusting. They're racist. They're fucking racist. You're judging an entire country's businessmen based off of what their worst actors do. Imagine if the entire world did that to us. They would call us all Charles Manson. And they're like, no, we're not doing business with you. You're Charles Manson. We know you're Charles Manson. You have Charles Mansons. You do Charles Manson things. And then it's like literally, it's like blaming and saying, okay, we're not going to do any trade with America because you're all Charles Manson. It's disgusting. It's that same line of reasoning. Like what Trump's trying to say, it's that same exact line of reasoning. It's like, no, we won't do any business with America because they're all Charles Mansons. It's disgusting. It's like, it's so crazy and stupid and lumping everybody into this crazy category that has nothing to do with reality whatsoever. That the stupidity of it is literally so dangerous. It's going to set us back in race relations with 5 major countries, like 500 years or something like that. And they're going to be like, nah, remember that racist ass fucking time time that you charged us 60% more to do business with you because you just plain didn't like the color of our skin? You remember that time? They're going to be like, nah, pay us what you owe us or we're going to war with you. We would have liked you if you had treated us with decency, but nah, you owe us like, you know, $40 trillion. Fucking pay up or we're going to fucking nuclear war with you. You can see China doing stuff like this because we threatened with 60% fucking tariffs. And they'll be like, no, you don't threaten me with motherfucking tariff. You owe me $1 trillion. You owe me $37 trillion or whatever it is. China's not going to accept the tariff. They're going to be like, no. Remember how I loaned you $36 trillion? The one requirement of loaning you the $36 trillion was that you kept trade going with us. That was the one agreement, pretty much the whole thing. If I loaned you money, you would keep doing trade with us as long as we didn't drop a nuke on you or start a war or something like that. Trust me. And China's disgusted with us. They should be. We are treating them like garbage, and there's really no reason. They are our highest fucking debtor. They've been the nicest in the entire world to us, in the entire world. What do you think really matters in the fucking state of human affairs? Do you think it's niceties or anything like that? No, it's money. Right? It's fucking money. Who's our greatest debtor? Motherfucking China and Japan. You think they did this because they like giving money out to people overseas that they might have to go to nuclear war to get the money back from? No, they did this because they're actually nice people and they want to help us. And we treat them like our worst enemy and try to fucking sanction them and fucking tariff them for 60%. We wouldn't ever loan them $1. We're not really nice people. We wouldn't really loan them $1 unless they were desperate and fucking begged us or something. It's insane. We would never loan them $1, but they loaned us like, you know, fucking $40 trillion or some shit. And this is how you treat your greatest debtor. It's a disgrace and a dishonor in their culture. It's a really big disgrace and honor in their culture, but it's a disgrace and dishonor in our culture too. Anybody who's ever dealt with Asian America relations in the last 100 years is rolling in their grave trying to be like, nah, it's a lost cause. Some idiots at the fucking till now. We can't fix it. It's disgusting.
And in many cases, that cost is passed.
The terrorist was my biggest issue with him when he went live and took president for the second time. Was like, nah, you can't be a dead slot and scare all of our businessmen. Like the foreign businessmen, they aren't bad actors generally. They're the people who are trying to help us, who are doing trade with us and trying to help us like thrive and grow. They're not these people to be feared to charge 60% extra to do any business with us. That's how you treat your worst enemy. This is not our worst enemy. They have loaned us $40 trillion to get through the last 100 years of Republican mismanagement of our funds and all this. Treasury mismanagement.
American consumer.
Inflation. They loaned us $40 trillion to deal with inflation. And so our answer is to charge them 60% a tariff every time they want to do business. No, that's something a fucking asshole does. That's not American. That's dirty dealing. That's bad actor. That's like taking your loan shark and being like, nah, if you want to do any business with me, you got to do 60% extra. I mean, that's sometimes how business is done, but not this business, not with this particular opponent, not with this particular country, not with this particular culture, not with their particular style. This is just not right. This was not what was called for. Your bullshit with tariffs is just some way to start a fucking foreign war. That's all it is. God damn it. I'm sorry, I have the hiccups.
Actually true in this case, and that's because Mexico, China, and Canada together they account for more.
Yeah, they account for like more than a third of the goods that we fucking use. That's like pissing off the factory that makes all of our fucking goods. It's just dumb. It doesn't really fit. It doesn't fit the fucking smart person's actions.
The goods and services both.
Why did dumb take over our country?
Imported and exported by the United States, supporting tens.
Joe never would have done this. Joe didn't do this. Joe didn't hint of doing this. Joe wouldn't have done stuff like this. There's no way. Joe wouldn't have done stuff like this. He's too much of a businessman's president. There's no way. Obama never would have done this. Clinton never ever would have done this. Like, trust me, they don't sanction people that we owe money to. That's just not very wise. That's like giving them a double reason to give us a whammy. Trust me, you don't piss off the people that you owe the most money to. You know, I'm serious.
Imposing.
Okay, so you borrow $40 trillion from the bank. And then you proceed to attack the bank, call it racist names, and treat it racistly, really terribly. And then you're like, okay, you loan me money, so now I've got to sanction you. If you want to do any business with me, bank, bitch, you've got to do 60% extra. And the bank's like, what are you talking about? You owe me $40 trillion. Fucking pay up, bitch. You owe us $40 trillion. We'll take you to war if you don't. Trust me, like that's what they're gonna think. Trust me, we want them to not be thinking about having their hand out for the $40 trillion that we owe them. We want them to be thinking about, oh, we're friendly, how you doing? Neighbors over the water, we love you, we like your music, we love Hollywood. Oh, we love your food, we love Chinese food, and we love your culture, we like your movies, and you know, we like your martial arts, and we like everything that you do and all this, and everybody's happy and all this. Trust me, this is a much more productive relationship than communication is broke down. I hate you. We feel that all of your poor people coming into our country has ruined this country, so we're going to ban all the businessmen and charge them 60% if they want to do business with us. And the country and the businessmen are like, what? Because we have some bad actors hopping your border, you want to fuck all the businessmen in our country who obey the laws and pay taxes and help both of our countries grow? And Trump says, yes, I'm particularly fucking stupid. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm racist and stupid. I'm planning to set back our country's relations 500 years or something.
Tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
It'll take 500 years for them to forget about this, because they're going to tell their great grandkids what we said about them and what we did.
Would violate the terms of the trade agreement that Trump himself signed in 2020.
Yeah, like what? And not just this, but you also just signed a fucking trade agreement with them. We don't often do that. You yourself, Trump, just fucking signed a trade agreement with them. You're so stupid. You just signed a treaty with them too, and you're immediately acting like Hitler, trying to violate treaties. It's fucking weird. It's like Ribbentrop, all or whatever. Ribbentrop, something. It's like Ribbentrop all over again. It's like you just you act stupid, but it's so dangerous because you accidentally look like Hitler all the time. Ribbentrop, remember Ribbentrop? Remember Ribbentrop, like I do. I wasn't there, but I mean, like, yeah, the whole Ribbentrop thing, like. Yeah, he totally got everybody in. And then Hitler just stabbed him in the back. It was kind of crazy. It was just like sort of weird, and like I forget the whole details of all of it, but yeah, like, you know, in the end, I forget what happened in the end. Yeah, he like disarmament. Yeah, but yeah, I don't remember the whole details about Ribbentrop. I'm thinking of this wrong. My example was wrong.
All this, it's important to understand this is not a one-way street. Starting with the fact that, you know, while other countries don't technically pay the tariffs, it doesn't mean that they won't be hurt by them. In fact, a number of the people who support Trump saying all this stuff about tariffs are saying, oh, he's playing this game chicken. Right in that, because, for example, the Mexican economy could be hit especially hard since it's so dependent on American trade, exporting about 80% of its goods to the U.S. Right, and all this is other countries can also play the tariff card. But I mean, you just had a spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in the U.S. saying, China-U.S. economic and trade cooperation is mutually beneficial in nature. No one will win a trade war or a tariff war. Right, and so one, with that, there's concern that these countries could respond with tariffs of their own, or two, otherwise be less inclined to cooperate on issues like immigration and drug smuggling. And again, to that point, you had Mexico's president, one, suggesting her country might retaliate with tariffs of its own. And this is two, she pointed out that Mexico is actually dealing with an influx of weapons being smuggled in from the States. But again, all of this.
Yeah, she's like, if anybody should talk, you're the ones who run shit over our border, really. We don't run anything over your border because we know that an open war will start. But you guys run over shit over the Mexican border all the time. And she's right, too. It's sick. The weird nature of their hypocrisy is just insane.
Some who believe that this is just a negotiating tactic from Trump, right? And even perhaps a bluff. But on the other hand, you have some saying we should take him at his word. With, for example, a professor of trade policy at Cornell telling the New York Times, the increasing specificity of Trump's tariff threats, both in terms of the amounts and the countries to be targeted, indicates the strong possibility that these are looming actions rather than just blustery threats. But hey, for now, you know, we're gonna have to wait to see what happens.
I am going to get some ice cream. I will be right back. course I do. Okay. Oh no, I didn't open this one yet, did I? No, it's the other one. Oops. I have chocolate and Greek yogurt. Couple squares of chocolate.
We're a little less than 2 months away from Donald Trump taking over the presidency again. Personally, at this point, especially because the man is no longer campaigning, I say when he says something that he's going to do, believe him. And in the meantime, maybe start just taking pictures of how much stuff costs. And in particular,
I don't think he's going to do anything at all.
I'd say fruit's probably the easiest, because annually,
like last time,
import about $18.7 billion of fruits and veggies. Though arguably the bigger exports are things like auto parts, vehicles, electronics, also beer. Yeah, I guess we'll see. And then Israel has now approved a ceasefire proposal to end the fighting with Hezbollah in Lebanon. And this, as the fighting is still continued until the ceasefire officially goes into effect later today. But in any case, we had Netanyahu announcing the news in a television address saying the length of the ceasefire will depend on what happens in Lebanon, and adding, with the full understanding of the United States, we are preserving full military freedom of action. If Hezbollah breaks the agreement and seeks to arm itself, we will attack. But notably there, with Netanyahu's backing, it's expected to move forward. And with this, you had Netanyahu saying there were 3 reasons to support a ceasefire. 1, it would allow Israel to focus on Iran. 2, it would give the country's military an opportunity to rebuild its stockpiles. And 3, saying that it would isolate Hamas. And as far as what the deal actually says, it would begin with a 60-day process during which both sides would stop fighting and withdraw from southern Lebanon. Israeli forces would return south of the border. Hezbollah would retreat north of the Litani River, and the Lebanese army would fill the void. Also, as mentioned, Netanyahu vowed that Israel would attack immediately should Hezbollah violate the deal by firing rockets or building military fortifications along Israel's border. And with this, it's important to say that Hezbollah technically isn't even part of this deal. The agreement would officially be between Israel, Lebanon, and the mediating countries, which are the United States and France. And this, as a top Lebanese lawmaker, has been acting as a liaison with Hezbollah, which the country's government doesn't have control over, and which is designated as a terrorist organization by the US. So notably, with all of that, as recently as last week, Hezbollah's leader suggested that the group would actually accept a truce if Israel stopped striking Lebanon and Lebanon retained its sovereignty. And so with all this, you have the UN's peacekeeping forces in southern Lebanon reportedly standing ready to enforce a ceasefire. Though this is notably, a spokesperson has said that the UN was, quote, seriously concerned about the Israeli assault that's been unfolding over the past couple of days. With, for example, today, Israeli strikes against central Beirut being described as some of the most intense bombardment of the war. Lebanon's health ministry saying that at least 10 people were killed and dozens more injured. Also in southern Lebanon, Israeli strikes throughout the day have reportedly killed at least 8 people, including children. And this is overall reportedly nearly 4,000 people have been killed and more than 15,000 others have been wounded in Israeli strikes on Lebanon since October of last year. And of course, that's on top of the tens of thousands directly killed in Gaza, as well as the hundreds of thousands more displaced and suffering. And so with all that, even with this ceasefire nearly in place, there are a lot of questions that remain, including how will it be enforced and how long will it actually hold up? But then, quick breather from the news, keeping your digital life secure can feel overwhelming. So let's simplify it with the fantastic sponsor of today's show, NordPass. You see, NordPass is a next-gen password manager created by the cybersecurity experts behind NordVPN, stepping in to simplify and safeguard your online experience. And with NordPass, you can store, manage, and share your passwords effortlessly. No more forgotten logins or frustrating reset loops. It even generates strong, unique passwords to keep your account secure. Plus, NordPass syncs across all your devices, so your credentials are always at your fingertips. But that's also just the beginning. Their data breach scanner actively monitors the dark web for your email addresses and sensitive data, alerting you instantly if a breach is detected. Think of it as your early warning system for identity protection. And NordPass goes beyond passwords with features like email masking. You can generate decoy email addresses to protect your inbox from spam and phishing scams. And for businesses, NordPass offers tools like secure password sharing with teams and visibility into employee access, ensuring sensitive information doesn't fall into the wrong hands. And best of all, it is risk-free. You can try NordPass Premium today with their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just head to nordpass.com/Phil and use code Phil for the best offer on a personal plan or a 3-month free business trial. Don't wait, go to nordpass.com/Phil and use code Phil and make your digital life safer, easier, and stress-free. But then, are we watching the slow death of diversity, equity, and inclusion in America, right? DEI. Because in addition to this red wave we've seen sweep through national politics this year, there are a few other trends suggesting that DEI is on the decline. Starting with, for example, the news that Walmart, the largest private employer in the world, is quite literally erasing DEI terminology from its official communications, with it instead using the more neutral term belonging and taking several more material steps as well, such as, for example, removing race and gender gender as considerations when choosing suppliers, disallowing third-party merchants from marketing certain LGBTQ-themed items online to children, cutting off funding for the Center for Racial Equity, cutting off data sharing with the pro-LGBTQ Human Rights Campaign, and ending DEI training offered by the Racial Equity Institute. And while obviously Walmart is the big example, they are not the only company recently purging DEI language from their materials, with many others including Eli Lilly, Starbucks, Duolingo, JetBlue, and Salesforce taking similar actions, which is a drastic change considering how much corporate America, I believe the terminology is, threw their whole pussy into racial equity and DEI initiatives during the BLM protests in 2020. But the largely conservative backlash since then has created a social, political, and legal climate many companies find too hostile. You know, whether it's boycotts against firms like Bud Light, the Supreme Court striking down affirmative action last year, or right-leaning groups filing lawsuits against race-conscious corporate and government programs. But also, understand, it's not just the higher-ups, right? Employees are also turning the same way. Pew Research, for example, finding that between February of last year and fall of this year, U.S. worker support for DEI initiatives slightly decreased, with specifically the share of workers who say focusing on increasing DEI at work is mainly a bad thing, jumping from 16 to 21%. Though still, you know, just over half, 52%, still say it's a good thing. And then with this, when you break down the demographics, you get what you'd expect, with women and Democrats as well as Black, Hispanic, and Asian workers most likely to support DEI in the workplace, but then men and Republicans are much less likely to support it. And also a share of Asian workers who do support it, that's dropped 15 points. Now, interestingly here, for all groups, most people agree that DEI helps Black, Hispanic, and Asian men and women. Then opinions about whether it helps or hurts white women, those are mixed, and way more people say that it hurts white men than helps them. And so all of that touches on public opinion, where it's at, but that who's actually right? Does DEI help or hurt the people it targets? And of course, that's a debate that I'm not going to settle here, but I do want to talk about a very controversial study that just came out and is stoking some criticism, because it's from Rutgers University Social Perception Lab and the Network Contagion Research Institute, or NCRI. And what they did is that they exposed people to DEI materials on race, religion, and caste from popular authors like Ibram X. Kendi and Robin DiAngelo to observe how it influenced their responses to survey questions. While in theory, DEI is supposed to make people more understanding of one another, researchers say they found that it engenders what they call a hostile attribution bias, where it amplified perceptions of prejudicial hostility where none was actually present, as well as punitive responses to that imagined prejudice. Or to better explain it, here's an example, right? The researchers presented people with a totally race-neutral scenario about a student applying to an elite university. They get interviewed, they get rejected. And despite having no evidence for it, participants primed with DEI materials perceived more discrimination and microaggressions. And in fact, they were also 12% more willing to suspend the admission officer for a semester, 16% more willing to demand a public apology to the applicant, and 12% more willing to require additional DEI training to correct the officer. This study finding similar results for content about Islamophobia and Hindu caste discrimination. And in fact, one shocking experiment made people 27 to 35% more willing to agree with Hitler quotes that substituted Jew with Brahmin, the highest rung in the Indian caste system. Now, of course, data like this is very provocative and people are going to disagree about how to interpret it, but already, I mean, we are seeing the fissure open up between the left and the right, with one side covering the study extensively and the other remaining pretty much silent. And in fact, you had an NCRI researcher claiming to National Review that the New York Times and Bloomberg, they both jumped on the story enthusiastically at first, only for it to be inexplicably pulled at the highest editorial levels. With them adding there, this has never happened to the NCRI in its 5-year history. And according to the NCRI source, although someone at the Times' data-driven reporting team had no problems with the study, at the 11th hour, the New York Times insisted the research undergo peer review after discussions with editorial staff, something it described as an unprecedented demand for our work, with them going on to claim the journalists involved had previously covered far more sensitive NCRI findings, such as our QAnon and January 6 studies, without any such requests. Right, and all of this playing out as you had Ibram X. Kendi responding directly to the study, telling Fox News, "It comes as no surprise that Fox News would broadcast this pseudoscience that isn't peer-reviewed, misrepresents my work, and is based on anchoring bias. This so-called study will end up in the historic landfill of pseudoscience alongside other attempts to bring scientific legitimacy to racist propaganda that anti-slavery and civil rights then and DEI and anti-racism now have been harmful." And to clarify what he means there, right, the anchoring bias describes how people tend to rely heavily on the first piece of information they receive about a topic, or in other words, they're anchored to it. So the objection here would go, if you show people a bunch of stuff about racism and then make them read a seemingly race-neutral scenario, they're primed to read it through a racial lens. It's obviously a very polarizing and divisive topic, but with that, I gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? But then, in big international news, a massive protest in Pakistan just turned deadly. Or because by this morning, as many as 100,000 had entered the capital city of Islamabad, with the people demanding for the release of the country's jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan. And so far, reportedly at least 7 people have been killed in the violence, with dozens injured and thousands getting arrested. Right, to understand how we got here, we first need to talk about who Imran Khan is, with him actually first rising to fame as one of the world's greatest cricket players, leading Pakistan to its World Cup victory in 1992. He then formed his own political party in 1996, and in 2018, he became prime minister. And this notably,
Really?
with many saying that it was the backing of the military, which for decades has ruled Pakistan either outright or from behind the scenes, that finally brought Khan to power. Khan, however, denies that the military had any role in his election, and really whatever the case may be, there's no doubt that they're on opposite sides now. Because in 2022, Khan was removed as prime minister by a vote of no confidence, with him then later being arrested and sentenced on corruption charges the next year. Charges that he and his supporters claim were politically motivated attempts to get rid of him after he began publicly criticizing the military. And with that, Khan has continued to accuse the government and the military of conspiring against his party and undermining democracy, including by rigging elections. And so with a lot of Pakistanis genuinely fed up with the country's military-run government, his message has hit home with a lot of people, because despite the no confidence vote, he remains massively popular. And in fact, this protest, it's not the first time he's been able to organize a mass protest from behind bars. Though notably, as the New York Times explained, few protests have reached the intensity of the clashes of the past few days. Even before the demonstration, police reportedly detained more than 4,000 protesters across the country. The government also locked down the Capitol, blocking major highways with shipping containers, deploying thousands of police and paramilitary forces, and cutting cell and internet services in several areas. And then, when the protesters actually made their way into the Capitol anyways, they used tear gas and rubber bullets against them. In fact, the army was actually stationed at certain important government sites and reportedly gave orders to shoot protesters if necessary. And according to Khan's party, the police have in fact fired live bullets, with the party saying that 2 supporters were killed as a result of excessive police violence and many more had been injured. Though also with that, as of recording, the reported death toll is higher on the government side, with the same things being reported like 4 paramilitary officers being run over by a car driven by protesters, as well as reports that a police officer was shot and killed, at least 100 others injured, and then 22 police vehicles getting set on fire as well. And all of this is reportedly several journalists have been attacked by the protesters. So it's been a very violent day, and right now we don't know how this ends, but for now we'll have to wait to see. But that, my friends, is the end of your Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning dive into the news. Also, I'm sure I'm going to say these 2 things tomorrow, but the Wednesday show this week will be the final episode this week, because I know lazy Philip DeFranco, I'll be taking Thanksgiving off, right? Gonna spend time with family and/or ignore family and play Balatro in the bathroom. Also, I do feel like I need to clarify, Balatro is a video game and not a weird sex thing. I think technically it could be both, but it's only the video game thing for what I'm talking about. And in case in the chaos tomorrow I forget to say it, I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Again, there is a show tomorrow. I just also know I am very forgetful, and I hope you have a good Thanksgiving, or at least just not a downright miserable one. But yeah, I love yo faces, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.
For invention. So who...
Oops. Thank you, Philip DeFranco, for the X content from Steam. I've liked and sub to your channel. Thank you. Some more news. I've liked and sub to your channel.
Oh my god, I can't believe we're still doing this show. How is there more show? Okay, well, here's some more news. Elon Musk! Okay. Well, Elon Musk is a weird little Nazi dude who went all in for Trump. That can't be right. It says next president. Okay. Something or someone must have really messed up for that to be true, but here we are. You know what? I bet it's that Hawk Twa's fault, actually. Get her! Listen, we're gonna have a whole episode or 1,000 about the election after Thanksgiving. For now, you can listen to our podcast to get more up-to-the-minute coverage. Like and subscribe! Anyway, remember Elon Musk. Congratulations to President Elon Musk, the greatest capitalist in the history of the United States.
For the greatest capitalist in the history of the United States of America.
What?
Elon
He's
Musk.
not American, you fucking idiot. He's not from here. You guys are so brain dead. You can see your lack of education and lack of critical thinking. Elon Musk is not from America. He's not the best businessman in America. He's never lived here.
Golly balls, we could do the entire episode on those 30 seconds of video alone. Like, did you notice that he came out with a mic like he was Dave Chappelle or something, and then realized there was already a mic up there and had to meekly hand off the cute little prop mic he brought? Did you notice that? Anyway, I didn't watch the whole speech. I mainly just watched those first 30 seconds on a loop. I'm so sick of this guy, but he just is still. But listen, look, hey now, champ, we're not here to talk about Elon Musk and his terrible, terrible, sad, terrible politics. Or are we? We're not. Perhaps. What I want to talk about is Elon Musk, the space pervert. The guy who apparently wants to make Starfleet real, presumably because he hasn't watched a single episode of Star Trek. But man, Elon, we should get rid of billionaires.
Presumably.
We're already running late on the Bell riots. Because, yeah, we wrote a lot of this episode before the election, but some of it after. It's gonna be a real wacky episode. Point is, we're all hoping to not live on this planet anymore. So let's talk about the future of space, and perhaps some other things too. But here's some bad news. It turns out that the Nazis will be up there too. Boo! Boo space! Everyone.
Boo space! Boo Nazis!
Look up and
boo Nazis! Boo space Nazis.
Space kinda sucks now.
Space kind of sucks
I mean, a lot
now.
of things suck now, but also space. Like, space's early work was cool for sure. I love the Big Bang and the invention of light. I do like some later stuff too. Killing the dinosaurs was pretty bold, innovative, disruptive. But lately, I don't know, man. Ever since humans joined, it's really dropped off. Going back to Herr Musk, no matter if you think he really sucks or just sucks a little bit, he
Herr
don't
Musk
anymore. Most people can't deny that SpaceX and Starlink are genuine accomplishments that could potentially advance space travel. And like, yeah, Elon has very little to do with the actual inventions, but he is bankrolling and presumably managing that, while he's not spending literally hundreds of hours playing Diablo 4. SpaceX is so ahead of
Elon
space
Musk
games
plays
that they
crappy
recently had to
Diablo
rescue a
4.
crew from a competing company. That's pretty embarrassing and also not at all surprising for Boeing. They are also genuinely making efforts to cut down.
Oh no, Diablo 4. Elon Musk and Diablo 4. Let's go look. Oh no. Of course it's Diablo 4. What else would it be? Elon Musk, Diablo 4. What? Apparently just what? Quill volleys, Spiritborn. Oh my god. No, it's really easy to be good at Diablo 4. It's the easiest game that there is. There's this point where all it is clicking the left mouse button really fast. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I used to be in high level Diablo 3. It's not that hard. If I'm up there, I'm not impressed.
On space debris, something we'll talk more about later. such as catching their own rocket booster instead of leaving it up there like a condom wrapper on the boardwalk. See, you gotta collect that used condom to offer to your friends. They've even deorbited their Starlink satellites in order to keep their method sustainable. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've talked about the many unsustainable things SpaceX does before on this show. I simply want to point out that for the general public, it's understandable to be impressed with SpaceX. They caught the damn rocket!
Landing burn, engine ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines.
Very neat, very dick-like. We love when space is dicks. And while space has always been this broad, dick-shaped goal for humanity, it's starting to also affect us directly with Starlink and the advancement of satellite internet. If you're watching this episode from somewhere in rural America, you may be familiar with companies like HughesNet, which until fairly recently were the only way people living in remote places could get online. Barely. But Starlink, while still sucking compared to land-based internet, seems to suck way less than its predecessors. That's because these next-generation internet satellites aren't way out in space like the old ones were, but instead operate in what's called low Earth orbit. You can even see them in the sky. Gross, actually. Still, the idea behind Starlink is that anyone, no matter where they are, will be able to get online with an inexpensive kit and an unobstructed view of the sky. That may sound silly for a lot of us internet already havers, but there are 2.6 billion-ish people
that don't.
who could benefit from this, including remote tribes. I mean, if you're from a tribe and are now getting to watch this show, my suggestion...
It would be cool if like 3 more billion people joined the video game fucking scene. That would be so cool if suddenly like the MMOs were all just suddenly 5 times the population. That'd be so cool. like all the Fortnites and stuff are all super banging, and there's all like instant queues on every game because there's so many people trying to play. I think that'd be sweet. Oh damn it, that attack hurts so bad. I like spraying them with my white semen.
Is to destroy your internet before it's too late. Smash it now. Like that story about the tribe being addicted to online porn was fake, but it's only a matter of time. Porn is the fire in which we all burn. Also, I don't think an isolated tribe will really benefit from isolating from each other. Stuck to their screens, dunking on each other. Destroyed. It's bad stuff. Point is, this is likely where the internet is heading. While we all fantasized about fiber optic coming to our neighborhood, companies might completely skip that step and go right to wireless internet. In fact, they already are. Meanwhile, Starlink currently has more than 6,300 active satellites in low Earth orbit, and they currently have permission from the FCC for about 12,000 total, which is roughly the same number that had been launched in all of history through 2022. There are other companies trying to do this as well, but Starlink is way ahead of all of them. That includes Amazon's Project Kuiper, which to date has only launched a couple prototypes. Come on, Amazon, catch up. You'll never have space slaves at that rate. Astronauts already pee in tubes. You're so close to your dream. So just to recap, SpaceX is making huge leaps in exploring the stars, while Starlink is connecting the world like never before. So what's the problem? How could this possibly go wrong? Well, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that both of these companies are owned by Elon Musk, who's a weird little Nazi guy who really sucks. See, in the age of learning that every celebrity and corporation is awful in some new and exciting way, I think a lot of us have come to terms with separating the owner from the product. Be that having an Amazon subscription or buying every copy of Morbius to be the coolest kid on your block. But with Starlink, we simply can't do that. The fact that it's run by a right-wing weirdo slinging his sperm at people like that guy in Silence of the Lambs absolutely has consequences that will change the course of history in, dare I say, really bad ways. Because you know where else Starlink is heavily used? War zones.
Orbiting hundreds of kilometers above the Earth, these satellites are playing a role in the Ukraine war. The Starlink satellite network, owned by billionaire Elon Musk, has been providing the country with internet service. It all started with a tweet at the end of February by the Ukrainian Vice Prime Minister asking Musk to help.
And this is where the story of Starlink goes from a wholesome tale about helping people in the Amazon discover their kinks to a terrifying saga of one very stupid man playing a key role in international politics. Starlink's dabbles in war games started in February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine and knocked out its internet. At the request of Ukraine's government, Elon activated Starlink satellites so the country could get back online, and it's been using them ever since. In theory, the idea of simply and objectively allowing internet access to whoever needs it is fine. But this became problematic when Elon refused to turn on satellites over Crimea, a region that Russia took from Ukraine back in 2014. This threw off the Ukrainian military's plans to launch an attack on Russian ships that were stationed there. Why did Elon do this after seemingly being so eager to help the Ukrainians with their cause? Well, according to Walter Isaacson's biography of Musk, he'd had a conversation with a Russian official who told him that activating Starlink over Crimea risked starting a nuclear war. Elon later defended his decision by saying that he didn't want SpaceX to be explicitly complicit in a major act of war and conflict escalation. He loves pretending that his little space dildos won't be used for war, despite them absolutely being used for that. When asked about his decision, he later added this gem.
I should say that, although I'm not President Biden's biggest fan, if I had received a presidential directive to turn it on, I would have done so, because I do regard the president as the chief executive officer of the country. Whether I want that person to be the president or not, I still respect the office. And so, if I gotten a request from the president type of thing, from the
I can't stand how Elon Musk talks.
Then I would have turned it on.
Ha 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 ha. The American president, he specifies in a totally non-foreshadowing way. Because as we're now learning, Musk is reportedly in regular conversations with Vladimir Putin, the not American president. Hey, that sounds like a treason. And before you say, whoa, Cody, treason is a serious accusation with serious consequences. Don't be so irresponsible with your words.
He's not an American citizen.
Elon Musk called for the death penalty of anyone, Democrats, who vote against a bill he likes. The death penalty for all Democrats. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe when the treason doer said the American president, he was talking about the Sorkin movie. Of course, that still doesn't make sense, and frankly, I just wanted to mention that film. Point is, he should go to jail. Not Sorkin, Musk. But I also wouldn't cry if Sorkin was arrested. We'll figure out the charges later. Coincidentally, we're now learning that Ukraine is finding Starlink equipment on Iranian-designed Russian drones, which feels like something that would be in a Sorkin-esque political thriller, or more fittingly, a Jack Ryan film. Except instead of the villain being some shadowy mastermind, it's just a rich guy who thinks that chess is a dumb game. Probably because he, himself, is stupid. He's a stupid man. I want to stress that. Elon Musk is a stupid person who can be easily manipulated and or bought by anyone. And he is now a key deciding factor in multiple wars and genocides. Did somebody say genocide? Because Israel has been using Starlink as well, including in Gaza, and plans on using the satellites to stay online in the event that it winds up in a broader war. And speaking of the Middle East, Elon also tried to get Starlink involved in the Masa Amini protests in Iran in 2022, starting with a tweet that he was activating Starlink after the US government cut back restrictions on tech companies operating there. This grand gesture was supposed to help civilians stay online after the government shut down their internet access, but apparently it wound up being basically useless and ultimately might have enabled government-backed hackers to run phishing scams that helped them track down protesters. Oh well. Now, I obviously just blew through a lot of international politics, and I'm losing my voice and maybe not pronouncing things right. I don't know, and I don't know how you land on any of that. This isn't all gonna be good or bad, which is actually kind of exactly the point. Putting aside who Elon Musk is, an annoying dumb guy who sucks, no private, unelected citizen should have this much power over wars, right? Like, if you, watching this, actually like Elon Musk, you should still be terrified, or dare I say, concerned.
I don't know Elon Musk, and I don't wish to judge somebody that I don't know. I did it with Trump because we had juries convict him. I'm not so willing to do that with Elon Musk. I don't know the man. I don't know anything about him. I don't know what he wants. I don't know. I don't care. I've heard some nasty, fucked up things about him. But I hear nasty, fucked up things about everybody. I don't know.
Also, it's Musk, a racist, sad little man who changes his whims depending on his need to be liked. His decision to help Ukraine, for example, seems to fluctuate based on what Twitter thinks. He's literally just tweeting out what he plans to do and then checking how his weird following reacts. And while you might be hoping that the government would step in, of fucking course, Musk is also doing work with them in developing spy satellites as we speak. He is now a major player in defense contractors, no different than Lockheed Martin or Northrop Grumman. He is fulfilling his weird little wish to become Iron Man, zooming around and deciding the fate of the world. Because unlike those other companies I just mentioned, Elon Musk is explicitly a supporter of certain political movements. Like, I'm not saying that the CEO of Lockheed Martin doesn't have a political leaning, but he's not out there at rallies, right? He's not tweeting about birth rates and how trans people are bad. Nor is he buying social media sites specifically to push political propaganda. Musk has a personal agenda beyond greed, on top of his personal agenda of greed. He has both. Like, Tesla is heavily entwined with the Chinese government, and coincidentally, Musk has said this about Taiwan.
Their policy has been to sort of reunite Taiwan with China. From this standpoint, you know, maybe it's analogous to like Hawaii or something like that, like an integral part of China that is arbitrarily not part of China.
Yes, arbitrarily not part of China. So random. Oh, hey, look, SpaceX might be withholding internet from Taiwan. Also, so random. Speaking of the totally random Taiwan stuff, the good news is that other countries like Taiwan are beginning to build their own Starlink-like networks. China is also doing this, specifically asking Musk not to send Starlink there. Not for good reasons, mind you, and making their own massive satellite internet network through state-run businesses, with plans to add thousands of new satellites in low Earth orbit. This will, eventually, thankfully, keep Musk from being the one-man global superpower he currently is, at least in this one aspect and in some places. But this foreshadows a larger problem. While space might be infinite, the parts of it that are good for doing satellite internet are not. It will be a competition, a time-sensitive competition, like when people are they're like racing to do a thing, but in space. A space-time competition. One that will see multiple companies and corporations tossing so much garbage up there. In the words of astrophysicist Jonathan McDowell, it's going to be like an interstate highway at rush hour in a snowstorm, with everyone driving much too fast. Except that there are multiple interstate highways crossing each other with no stoplights. Boy, that doesn't sound safe at all. And so after the break, we're gonna step away from Musk and talk about this larger space-time competition that will be happening very soon and is in fact already happening right now. Will it be a good thing? No, but it will distract us from everything else currently happening right now. So yes, good thing, but also bad thing. Boo the sky, keep booing, boo! Hello, my plumpkins. It's Cody talking about the holiday season. Time to awkwardly gift your terrible neighbor something so they have to hastily cobble something to gift back. And might I suggest the gift of gut health with AG1. Right now, AG1 is running a special Black Friday offer for all of November. AG1 is a daily health drink packed with nutrients to help alleviate bloating, support sustained energy, and whole body health. In fact, forget my awful neighbor. This is a gift for Cody because it's yummy in my mouth area. Nothing finer. It tastes creamy and makes my tum feel aces. So this holiday season, Try AG1 for yourself, or even gift it to someone special. It's the perfect time to focus on supporting your body with an easy and surprisingly delicious daily health drink. And that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so long. Every week of November, AG1 will be running a special Black Friday offer for a free gift with your first subscription, in addition to the welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/more news to see what gift you can get this week. That's drinkag1.com/more news to start your holiday season off on a healthier note while supplies last. Here's the healthier note. Oh.
Pants! Hey there! You know how in Star Trek they always wear futuristic uniforms that are supposedly built with a space-age material designed for comfort? I mean, I don't watch that show because I'm cool. But now you can actually have that with Public Rec Steelmaker pants! Dress pants are terrible! They are the Borg of crotches, which I am told is a reference. Public Rec designs pants that look like dress pants or jeans, but feel like sweatpants. That means you can go to work while feeling like you're unemployed, at least from the waist down. What a dream! Can't stress enough. Pants are terrible. Take them off. Take them off right now. But then replace them with Public Rec and their secret sweatpants. Is there a man in your life who always complains about their crotch region? Well, give them these pants. It's finally time to live in the future of pants. Also, honestly, they're pretty cute. Pants. They look like dress pants, they're sweatpants, and they look nice? What are you talking about? This is a no-brainer. So, stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code SMN at checkout. That's 20% off with the code SMN at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they will ask you about where you heard about them. And please support our show and tell them that we sent you. We are the ones that tipped you off, you know. So give yourself or someone you love the gift of comfort this holiday. Again, it's a no-brainer.
Ooh, good booing, everyone. Oh, we are back, and we are sassy, and we are talking about space, the great beyond, God's forever butthole. We all want to get inside of it, but not everyone can fit. Before the break, we were foreshadowing the next space race and how everyone is just jamming more and more stuff up there. We haven't talked about it much, but they are gonna trash space. Not just with politics, but literal trash. Like, remember the movie Gravity? That film was a very dramatic take on a very real phenomenon known as the Kessler Syndrome, a theoretical concept first described in 1978 by former NASA physicist Donald Kessler. Basically, it's what happens when so much space junk collects around Earth that it starts slamming into other space junk, creating exponentially more space junk until it's like a space junk tornado. And while what happens in Gravity is the absolute worst case scenario, there are plenty of cases where orbital debris has already done serious damage to Earth.
Look at the damage it caused. A hole from the roof straight through the floor.
It's either space junk or space meteorite. It's 50-50.
So what was it? Turns out it was space junk from the International Space Station. What are the odds?
What are the odds? Well, good, actually. The odds are good. In fact, because we're putting more and more rockets into the sky, researchers are now saying there's a non-zero probability that someone will die because of this.
The team analyzed the last 30 years of launches and came up with odds that someone will eventually be killed. They say there's about a 10% chance it will happen in the next 10 years.
Okay, so every country and corporation is racing to launch their gizmos into space, potentially crashing into each other and doing who knows what to Earth. Is there anyone who can help with this? Anyone at all? Oh dang, I totally forgot that's a thing. God, remember when they made a TV series based on people being mad at Trump? Is that still on? So, the Space Force is absolutely a way to militarize space. But surprisingly, it's also the closest we have to an international space debris watchdog. It monitors and tracks all the man-made objects in Earth's orbit. And while it doesn't clean up orbital debris itself at this point, it is running programs like Orbital Prime to incentivize private companies to build technologies that can repair or remove defunct satellites. But that's pretty much where its power ends. It doesn't say sign off on commercial satellites from companies like Starlink or hold them accountable for their space trash. That responsibility falls on the Federal Communications Commission, which, as you can assume, is extremely underprepared for dealing with space debris or really anything happening up there at all. They've taken baby steps, but we're talking about a literal global issue and beyond. Other countries have their own satellite regulations, just like the US does, but as you'd probably expect, they vary widely in terms of how they're applied and enforced. There is some attempt to do this at a global level. All countries that are members of the UN-affiliated International Telecommunications Union are supposed to register their satellites years ahead of launch so it can coordinate their radio frequencies and keep them from interfering with each other, or, depending on what orbit they want to be in, snag one of a finite number of so-called orbital slots. This system should work, in theory, except that it's pretty easy to game. And that's exactly what countries are doing. For example, SpaceX has registered thousands of satellites with the ITU through 4 different countries, likely in an attempt to circumvent FCC regulations and associated fees, as well as to gain access to in-demand radio frequencies while they're still available. Another satellite internet company, OneWeb, has registered its satellites through 3 countries, probably because it's trying to do the same thing. Ultimately, if SpaceX or whoever wants to throw satellites or whatever up there or wherever, how can we really stop them? They are running our freaking satellites now. They have more power than some governments. And in fact, here's a very important question. Who owns space? Well, sure, yes, it's Xenu, but can anyone actually own space? Like, legally? The answer to that is mostly no. But also, it's not no. We should probably explain a little bit about space law, which sounds silly, but is in fact a serious thing. Don't laugh! Maintain eye contact. Hey there. At a global level, space is the jurisdiction of the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. It has established several different treaties over the years to try to get everybody to play nice up there, the most comprehensive of which is the 1967 Treaty on Principles Governing the Activities of States in the Exploration and Use of Outer Space, including the Moon and other celestial bodies, better known as the Outer Space Treaty. It explicitly states that space doesn't belong to any nation and, quote, is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty, by means of use or occupation, or by any other means. It also says countries can't use space to host nuclear warheads or other weapons of mass destruction, and that nations are liable to each other if they break each other's stuff while they're up there. Oh, and the moon and other celestial bodies can only be used for peaceful purposes. So you can't use an asteroid to test out your nukes or set up a lunar military base. Shameful, cowardly stuff. Nuke the moon, I always say.
I know,
anyone.
right?
I always say that. Ask me. Ask me.
Nuke the moon.
Ask me. Yes. Nuke the moon.
Nuke the moon.
So in short, according to the Outer Space Treaty, countries are free to explore the cosmos as they wish, but they can't own space, or the moon, or Mars, or the asteroids, or anything else up there. Also, before you start building your own space nuke, corporations or individuals are considered entities of the countries they come from and are treated the same way. That freaking space treaty, always one step ahead. But here's the thing, space treaty. The authors of the space treaty didn't count on one sneaky thing. And that thing is the people like money. A lot, it turns out. Too much, one might say. And so we're beginning to see legislation designed to chip away at this treaty. In 2015, Congress passed the Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act, which gives commercial space companies the right to keep any resources they find in space. Luxembourg adopted similar legislation soon after, and is now in the early stages of planning asteroid mining operations.
Oh, damn
which include
it.
investments in a U.S. startup backed by Google co-founder Larry Page. And speaking of creepy Silicon Valley billionaires, J.D. Vance Frankenstein Peter Thiel is also backing a space mining company. This one with the goal of mining the moon. Oh, maybe he'll build his libertarian city on the moon, like Pluto Nash, but somehow worse. If this all sounds to you like it conflicts with the Outer Space Treaty, well, you're not the only one. The thing about the Outer Space Treaty, though, is that it's basically impossible to enforce. According to the UN, Israel is an apartheid state engaging in an illegal occupation, but we don't seem to care about that. You want to go blow up space? I mean, who's gonna stop you? Space Cop? Roger Wilco? Some kind of pulsar police? Jesus Christ? No. So, rather than abide by it, we'll probably just create new treaties that accommodate business interests, because there's just too damn much money on the line. And also, the US government is in love with space companies, and really every corporation at this point. It's just one big polycule, because of course, like every government agency, NASA has slowly eroded over time. We went to the moon, saw that there were no commies or oil up there, and we were done. No, really, NASA's budget plummeted as we were landing on the moon. So, naturally, NASA has, for decades, relied on Boeing and Lockheed Martin to launch its satellites under a joint venture called the United Launch Alliance, or ULA, which has received billions of dollars in government subsidies over the years. Then SpaceX came along with a snazzy, partly reusable rocket called the Falcon 9, and claimed it could do exactly what ULA was doing for about 2/3 the price. So these days, ULA and SpaceX compete for contracts to launch not just satellites, but also crew members and supplies to the International Space Station. There are other names in the game too, like a company called Relativity Space and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. But compared to SpaceX and ULA, these guys are basically NPCs, which according to Elon, we all are. SpaceX locked down more than $3.1 billion in federal contracts in 2023, almost as much as the total that the government committed to all its competitors combined. Of the 108 attempted US rocket launches that happened in 2023, SpaceX accounted for 98 of them. And yes, those numbers include launches of its own Starlink satellites, but even if you don't count those, it's still unquestionably ahead of the competition. All its rivals combined successfully sent up 7 rockets last year. How many of those were the United Launch Alliance? Just 3. So that's all to say that SpaceX has a de facto monopoly on US space travel. They've even been hired to crash the International Space Station. Oh yeah! Did you know they're crashing the ISS? Because they are.
The current station will remain busy for the better part of the next decade, until 2030. Then it will be taken out of orbit and sent plunging towards Earth, landing in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, okay, out with the old, I get it. Like, I love going to Circus, but I'm frankly surprised it's still standing. So what will replace it? Some cooler, better, bigger International Space Station, perhaps with one of those coffee machines that makes every kind of drink.
NASA plans to create multiple new space stations through partnerships with 3 private companies, Blue Origin, NanoRacks LLC, and Northrop Grumman. They'll work alongside NASA to build and launch mixed-use stations. The new ones will house government space programs and private companies venturing into Earth's orbit.
Seems kinda... I mean, okay, from the science pervert perspective, there's a lot to be excited about. By teaming with private companies, these stations will likely be better maintained, and there will be more innovation to come. Some of the new stations they're planning include a lunar base and one with artificial gravity. And even stuff like 2001: A Space Odyssey envisioned that we would have this corporate hybrid with space travel. So it's probably unavoidable, at least in this society currently, that space would be privatized to some extent. What sucks is who is doing the privatizing, obviously. But also, what really bothers me isn't that a space station is being decommissioned and replaced. It's that an international space station is being decommissioned and replaced, and there's not going to be anything quite like it again. The ISS sort of symbolized a decades-long space frenemy ship that lasted well beyond the collapse of the Soviet Union. Space in general was one of the few places where we could all get along, probably because it sucks up there and you kind of have to, but those days are fading. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Lunar Gateway, which is a planned moon station, is a joint venture with multiple government agencies from Europe and Canada to Japan and the UAE. But, for example, Russia announced it would leave the International Space Station altogether following tensions with Ukraine. Those tensions being that Russia invaded Ukraine by doing an invasion. Russia is now in the process of planning its own orbiting space station that it will launch sometime in the 2030s. They've also reportedly teamed up with China to build a nuclear reactor on the moon, which sounds kind of terrifying. China has made their own advances, and we are now very openly in a space race with them, at least according to the administrator of NASA.
So I think we are in a space race with China. They are aggressive, they are good.
Right. China is on Mars, but more pressing, they're on the moon as well. And in fact, the moon is once again becoming an object of desire. Not for science, obviously, but because we can mine the shit out of it. It's got a lot of water and precious metals that will come in handy for building long-term colonies there. But also, going back to that NASA weirdo, there's also this.
The Chinese space program is also a military space program.
War? In stars? What a novel idea. We should make 2 great movies about that, and then like 1 pretty good movie and also 6 terrible ones. But before we do that, let's take an ad break and then talk about the star tussles, the sun skirmish, comet conflicts. I'll think of something. Hold on. Go to ads while I think of something.
Winter is coming, and that means it's Yeti season. Here in the mountains, I get Yetis in my yard all darn day, lumbering about, doing their Yeti business, and I can keep an eye on them thanks to SimpliSafe. They are, quite frankly, the easiest and most effective way to keep an eye on your home during this dark time of snow squatches. Right now, SimpliSafe is giving exclusive early access to its Black Friday sale. Hey, that's neat. While other systems only activate when someone is in your home, SimpliSafe's Active Guard Outdoor Protection has life agents watching your yard before the Yeti causes trouble. They can turn on spotlights or activate an alarm or even talk to the Yetis through the system. Because while crime isn't actually a huge problem, there are lots of reasons we might need extra Yeti protection, and specifically Yeti protection. And right now, SimpliSafe is offering our audience exclusive early access to their Black Friday sale. This week only, you can take 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is their best offer of the year, folks. So head to simplysafe.com/more news to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Don't wait! Because the offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with SimpliSafe. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Oh boy, I like coffee. Coffee Cody over here. I even make it at home. Me and my lover, we make it together. A little hobby we do. It takes hours, but we'll get it right one of these days. And listen, if you're one of the few elite that make coffee at home, you should check out Trade. They've partnered with America's top independent roasters to deliver coffee right to your door. Like Hobbs, why not get your coffee regularly delivered to your door? It doesn't matter how you brew or what you like, they have something for you. We haven't figured out how to grind the beans yet. We've tried a machete, but that's not working. Luckily, Trade has a ton of ground coffee for me. But wait! The holidays are a-coming. I can see him on the horizon, Overjaw. Do you have a coffee pervert in your life? Trade's gift subscriptions will have you covered. It's perfect. You don't need to know how they make their coffee or what kind they like. All you need is their email address so that they can get the gift via electronic mail. That's a new kind of mail that uses our water pipes. So check it out, brah. Try them out for yourself or give a gift that always gets it right. Visit drinktrade.com/more news. They sell coffee.
Hey there, butt lovers. Oh boy, Thanksgiving and the holidays, right? Huh? Am I right? There's always that one family member talking about butts at the table. You know the one. Maybe for this holiday, you should gift them a tushy bidet. My goodness, have you guys tried one of these? It's like your butt is at a water park. You poop, which is unavoidable for now, and then what? You're gonna wipe down your hole with trash paper? Really? Does any of us feel clean after that? I'm guessing a no. Well, Tushy Bidet saves you money, saves toilet paper, and uses a fresh stream of water to clean your special area way better. It's simple to install, easy to use and adjust, and comes with a 12-month warranty and a 30-day hassle-free return. Why? Why would you want to return it? You're living on butt cloud 9, my friend. That's a guarantee. So, give the gift of practical luxury that benefits everyone in your household. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code SMN at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with promo code SMN. And don't forget to give us a shout out while you're there and let them know we sent you because you loved this ad so much. Okay, go to hellotushy.com for the best gift this holiday season. Seriously, this will be a hit. Give it to your friends. Give it to your family. Clean those butts. Clean your butt. Clean your butt. Clean your butt.
Moonfrockus! We did it! We're back! We are still sassy. We're talking about space and space struggles, because of course we're now looking at the moon for military bases. But wait! That's not allowed! Except, oh yeah, the Outer Space Treaty is basically unenforceable. So why not? Who gives a shit? Everyone is doing it now. In fact, there's a whole CCP Death Star thing. Well, not literally, but according to a report published by a congressional advisory group last November, China is likely trying to build a space-based nuclear weapon, ground-launched missiles that can hit satellites in low Earth orbit, and a laser capable of paralyzing US satellites, as Politico put it. Fun! I'm of course sure that the USA isn't doing anything similar and has no interest or motive in pushing fear of other countries' evil secret weapons that we're not doing. It's everybody else who's doing the evil secret weapons. Not that those secret evil weapons don't exist, of course. This is all on top of a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile that circles the world before hitting its target, which China allegedly tested in low Earth orbit in August 2021. Meanwhile, the US has accused Russia of developing a nuclear weapon that takes out satellites with a massive energy wave. Remember that one Call of Duty game that was in space? No? Like, you'd float around in space shooting guns? You really don't remember. Jon Snow was there. Anyway, this is that. There is a very real possibility that the next big war, be that a Cold War or literal pew 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 war, will be a space war. And yes, on paper, this sounds very cool. On the silver screen, it is cool. But now I want you all to remember where we started this episode. Because in that event, once again, a very crucial player in that war would be SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, the guy who thought COVID would be over by April of 2020. And called a guy rescuing children a pedophile for not using his metal tube that wouldn't have worked. And regularly boosts Nazis on Twitter, a site he bought because he was forced to because he's stupid. The guy who built this.
Oh my god. Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
Even if he wasn't a Nazi with questionable international ties, would you really want to trust him with a space war? Dude didn't even know how to play Elden Ring. For the record, I'm not the only one worried about that. And in fact...
Wait, what?
Know how to play Elden Ring.
Oh my god.
For the record, I'm not the only one worried about that. And in fact, that same NASA administrator we showed earlier has specifically asked SpaceX's president if Elon is closely involved with the company, and was assured that he is not. Quote, I hugged her with a smile on my face because I know she is running that thing. She's running SpaceX. This isn't a video exclusively on Elon Musk sucking and not actually being an inventor, but I just want to stress that he sucks so much that the head of NASA was so overjoyed to hear that Musk wasn't running SpaceX that he hugged the actual person in charge. And so, for now, SpaceX has been good for NASA and America's future space war. He's making those spy satellites, and there's this general hope that we can keep him on a leash when it comes to Starlink's international conflicts. But at some point, he's gonna start getting involved in SpaceX, right? He's currently in charge of deregulation and gutting government programs. He's meeting with the president-elect every day. He's elbow deep in the government and his private companies. He will get bored with Twitter and his stupid Department of Government Efficiency that he has to run with a second guy, very efficient stuff. Maybe he'll try to play Starfield for another game, but then he'll remember that he has a space company he can terrorize. And if the US keeps giving more and more power to SpaceX and Starlink becomes more and more vital in international politics, he could have a terrifying amount of power. More than he already has. Not just over space, but over all the stuff below space. And boy, I don't know what that would look like, but I do know what it wouldn't look like. It wouldn't look like Star Trek.
I'm wearing this jacket that was given to me by the Space Force. You know, it's got Star Trek Enterprise on it. You know, it's like Starfleet Academy. We want to make Starfleet Academy real.
So there is just no fucking way that Musk has actually watched, or rather absorbed, an episode of Star Trek. And to hear him talk about Star Trek and Star Wars, it's very clear what he actually got from it.
You know, I grew up watching Star Trek, and Star Wars was the first movie that I ever saw in a theater, and it obviously affected me a lot. And we just want to have these sort of glorious, amazing, I don't know, space future real, you know, and have exciting, inspiring things that make you glad to wake up. When you wake up in the morning, you're glad to be alive.
Right. He wants to make a glorious, amazing, I don't know, space future real, and have exciting and inspiring things to make you glad to be alive. But he doesn't actually know what those things are, does he? The same way he wanted to make the Cybertruck something Mr. Blade Runner would drive, but also hates Blade Runner, it turns out. He's just looking for the general vibes of sci-fi without understanding what these stories mean. To a person who understands stuff better than him, it's very ironic that his vision for land vehicles is out of a dystopian series where the world is crumbling, and yet his vision for space is from a utopian series where money doesn't exist and Earth is a paradise. Those visions do not mesh. I guess unless you think the Earth is doomed like he does. My theory is that because he does space stuff, he has to pretend he likes Star Trek. And not just him, all these guys. Remember when Jeff Bezos put Captain Kirk into space? What did that look like again?
Is he shooting up?
Oh my god.
Give me the champagne bottle. Come here. I want one. Keep going now. I want to hear this. Here. You want a little of this? Hey.
Wow. That dude has not watched a minute of Star Trek. Or again, if he did, he didn't understand it. Or care to. Or maybe he's just a jerk, I guess. Wouldn't be the first person to think that. I guess my point here is that it's ironic. There's no other word for it. It's ironic that all of these billionaires keep pointing to Star Trek as their space goal. Not just because they wouldn't even exist in that universe, but because it shows how totally unable they are to actually progress us into that type of utopia. These top-down thinkers, starting with the vibes and aesthetics of futurist stories. What they simply will never understand is that if you actually wanted to create a Star Trek future, you can't start in space. He says he wants Starfleet, but really he wants a fleet in the stars, and he doesn't understand why those things are different. You start with the boring work, like raising the minimum wage and creating social safety nets and universal basic income, eliminating poverty and regulating pollution, improving nutrition and education, and advancing medical technology, and making that medical technology free and uniting the entire world. I'm sorry, I know that all sounds like commie woke bullshit, but that's literally what they did in Star Trek. They certainly didn't elect a failed hotel crime rapist twice. At least to become Starfleet and not, the Ferengi or whatever. It is a process they don't want to do. You can't build Starfleet and make billions of dollars. You just can't. I'm sorry. Unless, of course, Musk's plan is to hoard wealth and make things so bad that it does lead to the Bell riots, which incidentally occurred in the year 2024. Fun fact. Anyway, my point is that we're not talking about opening a store here. We're not talking about a country. We're not even talking about a union of countries. We're talking about space. Exploring space, moving humanity into space as Elon wants to. That is a global endeavor that takes everyone working together with no regard for Latinum. That is simply not going to happen if Elon Musk is in charge of it. If he made Starfleet, the prime directive would be that you have to laugh at his jokes. So please, as we near the election, keep this in mind. Sorry. Already? Fine. Okay, well, I keep forgetting about this stuff. Who won? Oh. That's a real shame.
It was.
Did they count him again? Can we... Hey everybody, how do I sound? Good? Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. That would really help us out. Leave a comment and so on and so forth. We've got a podcast called Even More News. You can check it out on the podcast store and also this channel in video form. You can watch this show, Some More News, which is in video form now. You just saw it. But you can listen to it as a podcast if you prefer that instead. We've got merch at a merch store. Check it out, look at it. Oh, there it is. And you can go to the website that is on the screen to get those things. What's up, man? How you doing? I said, how are you doing? You can't hear me. You can't hear me. I can't hear you. You know what? I am tired.
Welcome to the world of Kenshi, where you could be a human guy, a weird human guy, a robot, or a stick bug. Do you like pointing at a guy in shackles and saying that a salesman, "I'll take that one, please"? Do you like small cages and wish that you could spend more time in one? Then Kenshi is the place for you. The first time I played this game, I started as a man without an arm in the middle of the desert, and the first group of people I ran into proceeded to beat my cheeks at 3 times speed, pick me up, and force me into involuntary labor. Before I even knew what was going on, I was already hitting rocks with a pickaxe. Kenshi is not f***ing around. I suspect that there's many people out there who tried to play Kenshi, tried to get into it, and just bounced right off of it. I suspect even more people boot up Kenshi and they look at this screen, their eyes glaze over, and they ask out loud to an empty room, "What the f*** am I supposed to do?" Kenshi is the confused old man meme in video game form. What's the story? Well, that's up to you. What do you do in the game? Again, that's up to you. What's the goal? I said that's up to you! Kenshi is wide open. It gives you tools. You use those tools in whatever way you see fit. You set goals for yourself. And when you accomplish those goals, you do something else for a little while. It's aimless, and sometimes that's intimidating, but that's what I'm here for. I'm here to take away the anxiety and show you how to actually Kenshi. Alright, I have a public service announcement. I have gotten into Warhammer. Yes, I know, I've already warned my family.
Yeah, I like strategy productions, but I don't know. I don't think I want to watch this. I'm terribly sorry. Thank you,
Hello,
Carl
absolute
Chops, for liking
legends.
sub to your channel.
When it comes to speedrunning, I've been around for a very long time. I started speedrunning GoldenEye back in 1999, and ever since then it's been a huge part of my life. Back when I began, people didn't speedrun entire games. We just stuck to single level games like Doom and Mario Kart that already had an inbuilt timer. In the early 2000s, I saw the birth of full game runs like Zelda Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, and Metroid. I saw Speed Demos Archive usher in a brand new age of full game speedrunning. I was there when speedrunning exploded on Twitch with Siglemic pulling in tens of thousands of viewers. I watched Narcissa Wright achieve 1810 in Zelda Ocarina of Time live as it happened. I witnessed Games Done Quick grow from its inception to the biggest speedrunning event in the entire world. I have always loved speedrunning, and I've always kept up with what's happening. And in the 25 years that I've been around in this scene, I have never seen a speedrunner as good as Suiji. When it comes to popularity in speedrunning, games come and games go. There was a time in 2015, after Narcissa's iconic run, that Ocarina of Time was easily the most popular game to speedrun. Nowadays, Ocarina of Time doesn't even show up on the first page. Minecraft was the biggest game in 2021, and even Subway Surfers was huge in 2022. Whenever a game is released, it's common for a new game to suddenly be the most popular game to speedrun. But for the past 15 years, there has been one game that no matter what, you would always find it either at the very top or near the top of the most active games to speedrun. Super Mario 64 is the most iconic speedrunning game of all time.
Really?
It's been the most
You know, it's weird because that's the game that I speedrunned. That's the only game I ever speedrun because I had a Japanese copy of it. So I played it so much because I couldn't understand what they were saying when they talked to you. So I had to like figure out the entirety of the game from the inside to the outside because I had a Japanese copy. So I ended up finding like Yoshi, I think the first in America, up on the top of the castle. I think it was the first one in America. I submitted it to the magazine. I told the whole country about that because I had a 64 like a year before the gaming journalists in America even got one. And I like my friends would love coming over to my house because I had a Super Mario 64, you know, like a year before it was even like out in America. I was like, I have Super Mario 64, and they're like, no, you don't. I was like, yes, I do. My mother will you know, back this one up. It's kind of funny. She was the one who got me the 64. It's kind of funny. It was just the same. But and by the end of it, I would say I could probably like speed run 64 blind, Super Mario 64. Oh, I forgot, but I'm out of potions and I've got to go back to town now. Yeah, I'm finally done. Okay, this is where I'm going to stop, guys. It's been 13 hours and 56 minutes. That's my usual 14 hours. I'm going to shut off all the games here, and I'm going to say that I recorded this entire session, and it will be placed on my YouTube. I'm going to log here. Okay, and that's all I have for you. I'm just going to remind you that you've been watching Skycat Live. Thank you for hanging out with me today. It was good to get a 14-hour session in. You've been watching Skycat Live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. My website is skycat.live. I'm going to go watch a television show and go to bed now. I'm brain dead, and I'm tired, and I'm half drunk, and I'm just ready to go to bed. I love you guys so much. Click on the cat space to donate. Come to Twitch or YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. Thank you to everybody who's given me a like, sub, or follow in the last couple of days. And thank you so much. I will be on tomorrow morning for more. And thank you so much for your time. I'm going to bed. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. And that's all I have for you. I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel. Come check out my YouTube channel. And I'm going to stop the video here.